and welcome to the Culture Swally, a podcast dedicated to Scottish news and pop culture. My name is Nicky, and I'm joined, as always, by the man who would have loved to have stalked prey, dancing round handbags in Tiffany's back in the day. It's Greg. How are you today, buddy?
All right. Continuing to bear up. Living the expat dream of occasionally having to take shelter in the car park at work when we get an alert, the basement car park. But yeah, no, I'm doing all right, all things considered.
You got your vest on today, is that so you're ready for action?
I got my vest on in case I need to like run around barefoot taking out terrorists in a tall building. No, the reason I got my vest on is because I record in a little room in our house, which because we live in Arabia and everybody thinks that everybody wants to have like a live-in maid, it's supposed to be the maid's bedroom, but it's honestly, I couldn't sit in the middle of this room and put both arms out like straight. The room's too narrow to do that. So how someone's supposed to sleep in here as a bedroom, I don't know. So it's been adapted into an office. But the problem is that it's getting a wee bit warm, and if I put the AC on, it'll fuck up our recording. So perhaps I'll just, as we get closer to the summer, I'll just wear less and less clothing until the temperature starts to come down again, and then I'll start to gradually add pieces of clothing on the recordings until I'm properly dressed again.
The Culture Swally, only fans. Coming this summer.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you said arms. I thought you were going to say legs. I was imagining you were going to do like a Jean-Claude Van Damme kickboxer, like walk on both sides of the room, walk up.
Do you think there's demand on OnlyFans for sort of slightly hairy shoulders? They're only slightly hairy.
I wouldn't be surprised if there is, to be honest, mate. I'm sure. There's something for everyone, you know? So everyone has some sort of kink. I don't know. Would you do that, though? Would you,
might be looking for a job soon, so I'll be fucking... Possibly. Just do anything.
It's okay, I guess, if it's just shoulder content.
Just...
think of
The thing is, they're not. It's not like an even coating of hair. There's just sort of like the odd kind of pubic hair kind of sprouting out my shoulders. It's never really. It's kind of been the same since I was in my early 20s. It's never. They can't really decide what it wants to do. Whether it wants me to be like a proper sort of Chuck Norris, R.I.P., with like a full sort of torso of hair, or just sporadic little sproutings here and there.
Not like a proper hairy pork shoulder or anything, just a little smattering. I don't know, I can't say I don't have hairy shoulders at all, or a back. I don't know what it is. I have a very strange, like on my upper arm, I have one hair that just pops out occasionally, and I just I never notice it, and then I look around, I'm like, where the fuck did that come from? Pluck it out, and then a few months later, it's back, just full length. I don't have, hairy back either, apart from I have, I've got to admit this, obviously, I'm sure I probably said it, I have a fucking tramp stamp of a tattoo on my lower back. I wish I hadn't got it there, but never mind. It's a conversation
so
piece.
Pleased with that the day that you got it.
I know.
Yeah, and our mutual friends came back from Richard's tattoo parlour, pleased as punch with your new ink.
I'm still happy with the tattoo, just not the placement. But just above it, I have like a perfect square of hair. Like, it's so fucking weird. Only place on my back that has hair. So fucking bizarre. Well, really strange. Yeah, it's like a little tuft. It's very strange. Anyway, never mind. That's enough about a little tail. Yeah, it's enough about our pubic necessity. I'm glad to hear everything's bearing up well, though, and it's all okay. You mentioned Chuck Norris died yesterday as we record this. Shocking. It was just it was all set up for a wonderful day. Scotland released their new away kit, which is a belter. And then the sad news, Chuck Norris died.
I know that Chuck Norris was sort of icon of kind of B action movies, right? It's like Delta Force. Delta Force, I think, considered a bit of a B movie in that series and things. But somehow, what was his program? Walker, Texas Ranger, like he did for years, right?
Yeah.
And of course, he was in Enter the Dragon with Bruce Lee. which I think was like his break. I think Bruce kind of discovered him, got him started. But 86 though, that's a good age.
I always find it always happens when, I say always, maybe not always, but I think it is a trend. When someone famous dies, like Chuck Norris, everyone knows Chuck Norris. On that same day, someone else famous will die.
Yeah.
But not quite as famous, so they don't get as much kind of attention. So I think it was a couple actually yesterday, but the one
you can give it up for Xander from Buffy.
Yes, exactly. Nicholas Brendan passed away, 54, so, a lot younger than Chuck Norris. But I always think, that's a shame. He won't get as much kind of, not credit, but you know what I mean?
Yeah,
attention,
coverage.
Yeah. So
yeah. Well, James Van Der Beek died the other week, didn't he? Dawson died the other week.
Yes.
And he would have been a contemporary of Xander's. What's his name? Nicholas what?
Nicholas Brendan.
Nicholas Brendan. I remember my ex-girlfriend, who I've been out with for far too long, she got me into Buffy. I remember she bought them all the ones that were out at the time on video, and her and I powered through it. Loved it. Really enjoyed it. But like all these American programs, like they often go a bit too long, don't they? If it's like a big IP, you've got all these spin-offs and stuff like that, and I got a bit fed up with it. But those first few series of Buffy are really good.
I was exactly the same. I think I had the first season on VHS as well, but never bought any more after that. And I think I was probably the same. I watched maybe the first 3-4 seasons and then gave up because it was like, fed up with this now. Exactly as you say, ran for a bit too long.
I think when they brought the sister in, remember she just some mystical thing happened and suddenly she had the sister. And the lassie that played her sister died recently as well, right? She was in Gossip Girl. Yeah. In Gossip Girl, wasn't she? Yeah, it was. I think that was kind of when I sort of checked out. I think I watched the first couple of seasons of Angel. I think I liked that a bit better by that time.
He died as well. Not David Boreanaz, the Irish guy that was in Angel.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah,
he died a few years ago. Fucking hell, it's the curse of Buffy.
The curse of spin-offs. Yeah.
Right. Shall we have a look at what's been happening in Scotland over the last couple of weeks then?
Cue the jingle.
Hello, this is the Outer Hebrides Broadcasting Corporation, and here is what's been going on in the news.
Okay, buddy, what have you seen in the news in the last couple of weeks in Scotland you'd like to share with me and our lovely listeners?
Well, we were saying before we started recording that the news has been pretty brutal. Just generally speaking, but a little ray of sunshine is Irn Bru this year are celebrating their 125th anniversary, and to mark this auspicious occasion, they're offering fans of Irn Bru in Glasgow free tattoos. They're opening Tat Brew parlours inside the city's Empire Inc. This was last weekend, so sorry, people, you're too late. It says Irn Bru is offering fans a free tattoo as it marks a milestone birthday this week. The Tat Brew parlour will be opening up this weekend with the beloved fizzy drink marking its 125th anniversary. The made in Scotland from Girder strapline will also be making a return to its packaging, with its classic girder emblem to be front and centre. The new design will also see the legendary Molten Man insignia revived from the 1988 era, celebrating the brand's industrial roots while injecting a fresh burst of energy and modern character. Irn Bru Sugar Free will revert to Diet Irn Bru, while Extra will now appear as Zero, with the recipes remaining unchanged. The pop-up will open its doors on Saturday, March the 21st. Oh, so it's this weekend. With the Irn Bru team taking over the city's Empire Inc. on Bath Street. Loyal fans will be able to flaunt their exclusive tattoo, either permanent or temporary, inspired by the new Made in Scotland from Girder's packaging. Supporters can say happy birthday to Irn Bru in style, showcasing love for the brand that has been well loved in Scotland since 1901. And the team is also inviting devoted fans who've already got the older label inked on their body to come along and add to their collection. Kenny Nicholson, director of brand Irn Bru, said for 125 years, Irn Bru has been proudly made in Scotland from girders. To celebrate our milestone, we've brought this iconic slogan back in an evolved look that typifies our industrial roots and the maverick bravery at the heart of Bru. With our first ever tattoo pop-up, everyone has the chance to show their Irn Bru love in true style. We know that many fans already have Irn Bru tattoos, so whether it's a tattoo or a first piece of body art, this is all about celebrating your legendary history, our refreshed look, and the fans who make Irn Bru so special. We can't wait to see fans double down on their girders and toast to the exciting year we have ahead. So we were talking about your barcode tattoo just before we started the news, and for whatever reason I've had a bit of the Mandela effect with that barcode, because I always thought up until fairly recently that it was like an Irn Bru barcode that you had tattooed on your back, but I was quite surprised. It was a bit like, I had the Mandela effect about you like not liking dogs for some reason for years.
Bizarre.
That's really weird.
Maybe we joked about it beforehand, or maybe
yeah.
I'd said I was going to get an Irn Bru or a can of Tennent's, or I think maybe joking like a pack of Marlboro Lights or something like a,
right.
But no, it's just generic lines that the tattoo artist had done. So no, it doesn't actually belong to anything. But yeah, probably should have done that. Actually, it would have been better.
Yeah, I mean, I do love Irn Bru. I mean, I can't drink it as much, because as much as I love it, it's not good for me. And I don't really drink a lot of fizzy drinks. Just every now and again. But I can't. I mean, like some of the. I mean, I remember when Irn Bru did the advert on the TV that was kind of sending up the kind of Coca-Cola and Pepsi type adverts that we would get from America with the song, you know.
Yeah.
But it ends with a guy hitting the vending machine, and the vending machine sort of sticks a nut on him. You know what I mean? And ever since then, like their marketing has been brilliant. And really, in fact, even before that, I can remember an advert when the wee boy drops his glass bottle of Irn Bru on the road and the steamroller goes over it, and the bottle embeds itself in the steamroller rather than getting broken. You know what I mean? Like their adverts have just always been really, really good and sort of tongue-in-cheek and unique and a bit risque sometimes. And you got a favourite Irn Bru advert?
I'm trying to think, because there's been so many over the years that have been so good. And, you know, the one instantly you think of is the period they did of like the black and white adverts, and the woman singing at the piano ends with "Even though I used to be a man," and then the end clip is her shaving whilst whistling. Obviously, you couldn't get away with that nowadays.
What's even that long ago? It's that long ago, isn't it?
No. I think they go like very tongue-in-cheek. The ones recently, you know, I say recently, I bet it was probably about 15 years ago, the, you know, naming their child Fanny. Yeah. And, you know, taking scoofs of Irn Bru. There's been loads over the years. Like, they're great adverts. And it's much like we kind of spoke about on the last episode. It's almost like that's what Brewdog wanted to do, or wanted to try, but they wanted to push it further to make it more punk, and it just didn't work, because then you're pushing it too far. Irn Bru have the perfect it's the perfect tongue-in-cheek, funny, without being too offensive, it's something we can all laugh at, and it's a little joke. And I think more importantly, a lot of the time, it's something that as Scots we can laugh at, that, you know, other people might not get. In fact, the one that I loved was when Trinidad and Tobago were at the World Cup. I think it was 2006 maybe. And they had Jason Scotland playing for them. And Irn Bru got him because he was playing at the time for a Scottish club. I can't remember which one, Dundee United maybe. And they had him in their marketing campaign, and the whole thing was Scotland's going to the World Cup. Yeah. And yeah, that was a lovely little thing that they did there, I thought. What about yourself? You got a favourite Irn Bru ad?
I mean, I like that one that I mentioned when they send up the kind of Pepsi and Coke adverts. And the more recent one I liked is when the kind of teenage boy's looking out the window in his pants, and he's got those kind of grips for strengthening your grip, you know, the kind of triangular shaped thing, but he's got it just in front of his body, and he's got his headphones on. His mum comes in with a can of Irn Bru and a tray for him, thinks that he's having a wank.
See, nothing offensive. It's fun. It's all good. Someone we can all relate to. It's all fun. It's all very good. I like it a lot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sure Empire Inc. will probably, if you went down and asked them, and you were obviously you're paying money, they would do you the same the same design that the Irn Bru are giving away for nothing this weekend.
Would you want a Scotland from Girders tattoo?
I don't think so. I mean, I think kind of getting tattoos of something. I mean, we've had people on the pod before, right? Like the girl getting the Greg's the baker's tattoo in her arse and all that kind of thing. I mean, there's nothing that I don't know. Like I wouldn't say I'm particularly brand loyal to that extreme. You know, I have the things that I like, but you know, like I love Irn Bru. If I never ever got the chance to drink Irn Bru ever again, you know, well, I'm not going to it wouldn't be the end of my life. You know what I mean? It's like so I probably wouldn't get a tattoo. It feels a bit silly when you're almost 50. It might make more sense when you're in your early 20s perhaps at the time, but I think, you know, a bit of maturity and whatnot, it feels a wee bit silly getting a tattoo. Like I've seen quite a lot of like the big red T from Tennant's tattoos on people's bodies and stuff. I just get there, I think you're going to regret that one day, mate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Imagine you had to stop drinking for some reason, right? Because you became an alcoholic or for health reasons, and you've got this constant reminder of the good times tattoos on your body.
Just get
it covered over.
A 0 tattooed underneath it, and then you're fine. It's all good. Yeah. I mean, I guess, it's the same as Irn Bru. Then if you suddenly got diabetes or something, then you're kind of struggling with that if you've got that. Or I don't know. It's a nice thing, I think, in terms of, you know, it's a nice Scottish, but I'm the same. I don't think I would ever go down that road. It's the same as, you know, you see people with like Aberdeen Football Club tattoos. I would never get that.
That's what makes more sense.
Says the man who has the fucking, I've got the Ghostbusters phone number tattooed on my arm, but
that's right.
You know, that's, but in terms of like a brand or something like that, I don't think, I don't think I'd go down that route.
Football teams make a bit more sense to me because people generally support the same team their whole they generally support the same team their whole life, you know?
To be fair, the team he supported ceased to exist. So you can, and he just didn't want to support the reincarnated tribute act. So he switched allegiance. So that's fair enough, I think.
I'm surprised he hasn't got a Ross County tattoo. Maybe he's waiting to see how they finish the season. in case he's got to pick another team. In case, because, I mean, you know, finances at these small clubs are on the line, right? They could easily go the way of the original Rangers club quite easily, couldn't they? Like the further down the leagues they go, the more chance of that happening there is. So maybe that's why this want to take the chance. Yeah,
you never know. Never know. Maybe you'll get a wee staggy tattooed somewhere. We'll see. That's lovely. It's lovely they're bringing back original packaging. Is this just for a period, does it say? Or, because if they're bringing back diet Irn Bru, because you'll get diet drinks now, did they not rule that out or is it just because obviously it's not a PC thing to put on a drink, is it?
Well, I
thought
they stopped calling them diet because because the word diet sort of suggests that it's better for you when it's been proven. Yeah. It's been proven that if anything, some diet drinks are worse for you than their sort of regular counterpart. You know, I think Diet Coke got into a bit of hot water when people looked at what actually went into it. And it's like they reckon that you're better off just drinking normal Coke than Diet Coke.
Oh, well, just have an Irn Bru. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean,
enjoy.
I drink fizzy drinks so seldom that when I do have them, I just go for the full strength. I've never really liked the taste of the zeros and the diets anyway, you know. Anyway, so that's Irn Bru. I'm sure they'll be doing a lot more fun stuff this year to mark their 125th birthday. So we'll keep an eye out for it and tell you about it, even though we get absolutely nothing from Irn Bru for doing that. We'll do it just out of loyalty to a good Scottish brand. Anyway, that's my first story. this week, what is your first story?
Well, we're crossing the water on this episode. Well, we're not, but we kind of are. On my first story, Greg, and it's from the Scottish Sun this week. And the headline is St Paddy's Dismay. Rowdy St Patrick's Day revellers caused a High Court trial to be postponed. Jurors on Tuesday complained they couldn't concentrate because of the din from music and boozy punters in a nearby bar. The case in Edinburgh's Court of Session at Parliament House was ended early at lunch and was set to resume on Wednesday. Part of the building backs into the popular Three Sisters boozer in the capital's Cowgate area, where scores of drinkers gathered for a March 17 celebration. A DJ played a stream of tunes, including party hits and Irish songs, as customers downed Guinness. Bear in mind, the court was postponed at lunchtime, Greg. A steady stream of green-clad pub-goers gathered at the packed venue throughout the day. A source said, "From early on Tuesday, the noise was pretty obvious. Music for the likes of the Pogues could be heard coming from the pub, and there was a general noise of people having fun and drinking. But some of the jurors felt it was too distracting. Aye, they wanted to go and join in. And this was relayed to the judge, who quite rightly decided to halt proceedings until the following morning. It was a High Court case, so obviously it was a pretty serious matter. It had been moved to the Court of Session building because of the lack of space at the actual High Court. It's nobody's fault really, just the location of the two buildings. It is understood that court chiefs might officially register their concern over the noise to avoid a repeat in future. One reveller told the Scottish Sun, "Obviously it's nobody's intention to cause any bother. We're just out having a bit of fun." Another said, "It was a great atmosphere in the boozer. They always knew how to put on a show, and they did that today. The music sets for the DJs were excellent." And another partygoer said, "It was noisy, but it's Paddy's Day. What'd you expect?" A Scottish Courts and Tribunal Service spokesperson said, "Court business in Court 9 with Parliament House was stopped today at 12 p.m. and will resume tomorrow." So, my issue with this is, we're in Scotland. Why the fuck? Why the fuck? This has always been a bugbear of mine. Always been a bugbear. Paddy's Day. Are you Irish? No. Then why the fuck are you celebrating it? Just because you want to fucking wear a big fucking Guinness hat and drink Guinness and pretend you're Irish and split the fucking G. Why? Why? You're not Irish. It's just an excuse for you to get pissed and have fun. I sound like a right miserable cunt, don't I? But I've always had a bit of an issue with this. Paddy's Day. Paddy's Day. We don't do this St Andrew's Day, do we? I guess we'll have Burns Night, but still.
I never, I wouldn't say that I was always a bit kind of befuddled by it because, I remember people would say, "Oh, we need to go out on Tuesday night." And I'd be like, "Why?" And like, "Well, because it's St Patrick's Day, it'll be mad, the atmosphere will be brilliant." So you would go, and especially in Glasgow, so we'd end up going to somewhere like Waxy O'Connor's or one of O'Neill's or a kind of Irish pub, and it'd be fucking mobbed. You'd be able to get served. It would, I'm just like, it's just another night out. You know what I mean? Like, when I was in, like a few years ago, I happened to be in New York when St Patrick's Day was on. I was actually in New York on St Patrick's Day last year as well, but I didn't see anything. But that first time I was there, me and my old boss Martin went and watched the parades. And and it's like, they walk up Fifth Avenue with all the pipe bands and stuff. It's fucking mobbed, and there's like thousands of people. And it's not just sort of like Irish kind of communities that are marching. Like there's Hispanic communities. It's kind of become a bit of a sort of immigrants' day. You know what I mean? Where all these different, all the diverse sort of nationalities that have set up big communities in America over the years, they were marching. You know what I mean? But like every pub, New York is the only decent pubs really are Irish pubs. Really, you know what I mean? In Manhattan. And they're all just like spilling out, and it's just like I'm sort of with you because it's just like another day out. You know what I mean? Like I've never felt. I mean, I don't need I never used to need an excuse to go out and get lashed on a Tuesday night. You know what I mean? No. If I wanted to go out, if there was enough of us that wanted to go out, we would go out. You know what I mean? We don't need like to say, oh, we're going out because it's St. Patrick's Day. We're going out because it's Tuesday and we want to get lashed, you know?
Yeah, it just feels like a thing. Oh, it's St. Patrick's Day. Great. Like, don't say, well, we're going out. It's St. George's Day. Great. We're going to drink pints of bitter and throw plastic furniture at each other. Like, I don't get, why. But maybe it's just me. And maybe I'm just bitter because we don't really celebrate St. Andrew's Day as such.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess, like I say, we do have burns, but it's kind of,
Yeah, it's a bit more civilized Burns night though. Even if there's like, I mean, I remember going to, when in my last year at school, my school used to have the kind of 6th year's Burns supper in a pub in the village called the Pitfoot Arms in the sort of community hall, not community hall, function hall of that pub, and it was like a Burns dinner and then a ceilidh. So we all had to learn or be refreshed on how to do the Dashing White Sergeant and the Eights and Reels and all that kind of thing, like for a few days before, so we didn't embarrass ourselves. Because I'm of a generation that if it was raining on the day that you were supposed to have PE, you would do Scottish country dancing in the gym, which meant holding hands with girls and stuff, which when you're like sort of 7 or 8 or whatever, it's the last thing you want to do.
No.
Like 15, 16, fucking I'm there. Yeah, just show me I'm a willing dancing partner. But I have read about the St. George's Day thing is interesting because it's sort of been hijacked by the sort of lowest denominator, right, in English society.
Yeah.
The fucking reform, send them all back numpties, right? And I have heard, but why don't we celebrate St. George's Day in the same way that the Irish celebrate St. Patrick's Day? But to be fair to the Irish, on St. Patrick's Day, they just want to go and get lashed. It's not like it's not a political thing. They want to rise early. They want to be in the pub next door to the court before lunchtime and be playing the pogues and just generally having a good time. Whereas I think the whole St. George's Day brings the kind of people that would argue for it. That perhaps on the less social side of that kind of thing. It's sort of like it's become a bit of a symbol of racism, hasn't it? The kind of English flag and the bulldog and the whole St. George's Day.
I just want to say as well that this isn't anything against the Irish celebrating St. Patrick's Day. I think that's great and they should. My argument is about people piggybacking on it. Just use it as an excuse. Perfect example I remember is when I'd been in Dubai for about a year. So it must have been like 2008. And I was out and I remember speaking to a girl and she said, are you going to the rugby sevens? The rugby sevens, obviously a huge thing. It was huge back in those days.
Yeah.
Probably still is. And everyone just went to get pissed and thing. And I said, no, I don't really like rugby. And she said, but it's not about the rugby. And I said, that's exactly why I don't want to go. Because I pisses me off. It should be about the rugby. Yes, you can have a drink and enjoy yourselves and have fun, but you should be about the rugby. It's not. If you just want to go and get pissed, then just go and get pissed somewhere. So it's the whole looking for an excuse for something. You don't need an excuse. Exactly as you said, Greg. When you're veterans like us, you don't need an excuse. You can find an excuse anytime.
Yeah, when you're functioning potential alcoholics, you don't need an excuse because you already have one.
I think I'm in the recovering phase now. So anyway, that was my little bugbear. But so loud that it caused a fucking court case to have to be postponed. That's not great. But
no.
It's a good laugh. It's a story to tell, isn't it? I'm sure some of the people there will be telling the next day, not at work, because obviously if they're out getting pissed on a Tuesday, then they won't be at work. But they can say, we were so loud, we got that murderer postponed till the next day.
It's just a bit of fun.
Anyway. Okay. What else have you seen this week, buddy?
So this one comes from Edinburgh Live, and it is called, the headline says, Tourist tries to buy 7 coffees in 7 countries in one day and ends in Edinburgh. A vlogger who set out to have 7 coffees in 7 different countries all in one day, has returned to Edinburgh. Scott Manson, who runs a YouTube travel channel, set off on a caffeine-fueled journey across Europe. He started in Milan and finished his journey in Scotland. In his video, he revealed, "Tomorrow, I'm going to do something a bit silly." That got you sitting up straight, didn't it? How possible is it to visit 7 countries in one day? Well, on paper, at least, it is possible. Elaborating on his mission, he added, "But I thought, let's jazz things up a little bit. Let's visit 7 countries in one day and buy a coffee in each of those 7 countries. Now we've got a challenge, and that's what I'm doing tomorrow. It's going to be a long, long day, and it's actually going to be one of the most logistically challenging day trips I've ever done." Kicking off his quest in Milan, Italy, he said his day would begin bright and early at 6 a.m, with the journey expected to conclude around 11:20 p.m. Fast forward to the next day, and Scott could be seen making his way to the station in the dark. It was there that he enjoyed his first coffee of the day before boarding the train to Zurich in Switzerland. Once on board, Scott revealed more about his itinerary, explaining he had 30 minutes in Zurich before catching his connecting train to Basel, in the north, located on Switzerland's border with France and Germany. Grabbing a cappuccino in Zurich station, Scott said it was a lot stronger than his Italian coffee. He then boarded his next train, showcasing the view through his window as he travelled through Switzerland. He subsequently arrived in Basel, where he exited the station and caught a bus to Euro Airport Basel-Mulhouse-Freiburg, which is situated on French territory, marking his 3rd country. From there, after purchasing a 3rd coffee, this time an espresso, he flew to Frankfurt, Germany, where he had a 1-hour stopover before his 2nd flight to Brussels in Belgium. Discovering that his flight had been delayed by 20 minutes, Scott noted that he only had 40 minutes to locate his gate and naturally grab a coffee. Upon landing, he managed to grab a gate, bringing his tally to 4 out of 4 before boarding his next flight. From Brussels, after buying his 5th cup, he departed for his train to Antwerp. However, it was at this point that he started facing problems. He was soon explaining on the platform that his train had been delayed by 31 minutes, but he only had a 30-minute connection to Antwerp. Scott said, "The next direct train means that I'll have approximately 1 hour at Schiphol Airport in Amsterdam to get through security and get to the gate, and Schiphol is not a small airport, so this could be interesting." He went on to say, "And I thought my biggest concern on this trip was drinking too much coffee." Unfortunately, he was due to miss the Antwerp to Schiphol Airport train. Although there was another one scheduled for 45 minutes later, his ticket was valid for that particular train only. Upon arriving at the next station, however, he visited the ticket office and managed to secure a solution, one that would leave Scott with roughly 55 minutes at the airport. He reached the airport with 50 minutes to spare, but sadly he wasn't able to purchase a coffee because he had to run for it. Fortunately, he still managed to catch his flight to his country number 7, which was Scotland. His coffee challenge abandoned, he entered Black Sheep Coffee in Princess Street, where he treated himself to a bottle of orange and mango Rubicon and a packet of ready salted crisps. So it was a valiant effort, undone, unfortunately, by the rail network between Antwerp and Amsterdam. What to do? You've been on that train, haven't you?
I have. Well, yeah.
Did you go through Antwerp?
Brussels. I don't know. I can't remember. I think so. Maybe.
You can't remember because you were doing the how many beers can I drink before 10 o'clock in the morning challenge.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I was a bit boozy when I arrived. Yeah, quite early as well. Yeah, to go and get some chips. I think I was just carrying on from the night before. Sat in on my own. Which is why I'm now recovering alcohol. That's a valiant effort. Fuck. Yeah, 7 coffees. I don't think I could drink 7 coffees though in that.
No.
Like I do have to have a coffee when I wake up. Like that's one of the first things I'll do. Get up, go through, make a coffee. And I do kind of feel like a difference once I've had a coffee. I feel a bit more like, okay, let's start my day. But if I have too many, then I feel a bit jittery. And don't like that. So I usually have 2, then I'm done. But I do like the taste. So I do have decaf coffee at home, which I know kind of defeats the purpose, but I do like to have. I like the taste. It's the feeling of having a coffee in the afternoon. But yeah, I couldn't drink 7 in terms of doing that challenge. That's too much.
My caffeine window closes at around midday. So most I'll have is 2. If I have any coffee after midday, I'm probably not going to sleep that well that night.
Yeah.
That's going to make me well go off to sleep. I don't. That's another reason why I don't drink a lot of fizzy drinks, because it does take my body quite a long time to sort of process caffeine for whatever reason. It seems to stay with me a bit. Like, I know people will have a coffee at 9 o'clock at night and then go off to bed at like 11. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just can't.
My body does not process caffeine like that. It takes a long time. So yeah, I mean, I couldn't have done this 7 coffees in one day, regardless of the countries. I wouldn't be up for that at all.
Yeah,
7 beers in 7 different countries. You know. I could get behind that.
Well, the only issue you'd have with that would be that, you know, that used to be the worst thing about going to the football for me. Would be you go to the pub. You'd have about 5-6 beers, then you go to the football. You're sat watching the football for like 2 hours. By the time you're coming out the ground, you're getting that, you know, the alcohol's wearing off. You're almost getting a bit of a hangover kicking in already. You need another beer quickly.
Yeah.
Spacing out those beers might be a bit too much in terms of that. You need some travel beers to keep you going for that. Yeah. But then does that count?
That's the problem with because you're right. When we were younger, I remember like my stag do, right, for example, and we went to Barcelona and we had to meet everybody at Central Station in Glasgow in the morning. We'd get the train to Prestwick Airport and then fly from Prestwick to Barcelona. But of course, we're on it in the morning. I think, be 11 o'clock, I suppose. You know, when the pub opened, we might have even had a couple of cans on the train on the way into town, potentially. It does sound plausible. And then, so drinks at the train station, probably a couple of drinks on the train up to Prestwick, drinks in Prestwick Airport, drinks on the flight, landing in Barcelona, into the hotel, freshen up, into the pub, out all night, back to the hotel at like 2 or 3 in the morning. So, I mean, it's like a 15 or 16 hour session. And you kind of get yourself into that place where you're almost a bit scared to stop unless you're ready to go to sleep, because you know that, right, if I don't have anything to drink for a few hours, I might not feel like another drink in a few hours.
Yeah.
You know, so I've just got to kind of keep going. And then I remember the next day coming down this, because I think the plan was we're just going to go out and explore Barcelona the next day, right? And I came down the stairs in the morning and I was the second person down. And unfortunately for me, the first person down was Malcolm Todd, my good friend, who thrust a vodka and coke into my hand at 11:45 in the morning. And then we ended up not seeing any of Barcelona because we went to the first place that we came across for lunch and it was hands on cans all day and all night. We just had time to go back to the hotel so you could get into your Brandon Flowers inspired outfit, and then which I don't think even got much of an airing. I think we went to one bar after you got changed, and then you were like, I got to go back to the hotel.
Yeah. That was in a bad way. Yeah. It was feeling a bit rough. Yeah.
Couldn't do that these days.
No. Oh, well, okay. Yeah, lovely. That's unfortunate he didn't manage 7 coffees challenge. The Craig David of Costa. Never mind. Anyway, that's whatever his name is, I can't remember, and I've deleted the tab. What's your next what's your next story this week? My next story is from the Scottish Sun this week, Greg, and the headline is Off the Ball. There were wild scenes of celebration for Dundee fans as they rescued the most unlikely of draws against rivals United on Sunday. But one poor ball boy got a heck of a lot more than he bargained for as he soaked in the moment. As it so often does, the Dundee derby certainly delivered the goods. Okay, this is a little bit about the football. Basically, Dundee United were 2-0 up in 66 minutes, and then with 94 minutes on the clock, Ashley Hay got a goal back for the hosts. And then just moments later, he netted again to send the Dens Park crowd wild. Unsurprisingly, the home fans were sent absolutely crazy by their team's late show. Popular YouTube vlogger Around the Grounds was in attendance at Dens Park and captured the celebratory scenes. At one moment in the immediate aftermath to the equaliser, certainly caught the eye. Police officers and stewards were quickly in attendance as they attempted to prevent the jubilant scenes from spilling over. They quickly raced to make sure none of it spilled out onto the pitch. And they managed exactly that, although one steward mistakenly thought someone had made it onto the pitch. Footage shows the Dundee ball boys enjoying the moment, jumping up and down at the edge of the pitch, hugging each other, high-fiving and punching the air. Unfortunately for one ball boy, a steward mistakenly thought that he was a pitch invader. As he celebrates with another ball boy, he's grabbed by a steward. Footage shows the ball boy being dragged down the touchline, away from the pitch and towards an exit. The vlogger filming the footage attempts to step in and can be heard shouting to the steward, "That's a ball boy." Thinking his job is done, the steward then returns to get back to managing the crowd. At that moment, the ball boy can then be seen being brought back into the ground by a member of staff. So, a little overzealous, over-enthusiastic steward thinking, oh, this ball boy's obviously a pitch invader. Now, to be fair, I can see he's just doing his job, and there is a spate recently, especially because the weekend previous, there had been a pitch invasion at Ibrox. So I can see the stewards were probably told that this is a derby. This is a proper derby. This is two teams that have history. Not like last week at Ibrox when it was just a team that's only 12 years old or so against Celtic. This is two teams have a real rivalry in history here, Dundee and Dundee United. So it might kick off. To be 2-0 down with 94 minutes gone, to get it back to 2-2, you can see there might have been a pitch invasion. There wasn't, because they're well behaved in Dundee. But yeah, just thought this ball boy is obviously a pitch invader, and Frog marches him to the exit.
Yeah, I mean, I know that there's been a bit more hooliganism, to use the old expression, at the football. I think in the UK, it's been making a bit of a comeback. But the thing is, what I've noticed, because when I was still on Twitter, or X, some of the kind of videos that would appear in my feed were like videos of trouble at the football, right? And in Scotland, at least. But when I was a kid, football hooligans were smart, like well dressed, and there was the whole fashion culture around it. But now they all seem to wear black, and I'm sure they all wear black because it's harder to identify if everyone's wearing black is wearing black, you know, which it sort of tells you everything about their objectives and motives. They just want to go and cause a bit of carnage and not get arrested. Whereas I think like the old football hooligans of like the 80s, for example, they just wanted to go and have a fight with their counterparts on the team they were playing. You know what I mean? They weren't out to cause a load of bother. They were just out to have a fight with people that were sort of like-minded people. So yeah, I saw them, and I know that the Rangers and Celtic they've kind of been criticised because neither team, or both clubs, were quite late to criticise their fans for invading the pitch. And I believe, from what I read, the Rangers fans were on the pitch first, I believe. But I'm sure they would probably say the Celtic fans were on the pitch first. Who knows? Doesn't really matter. But it's a wee bit, I mean, I don't know, maybe people just thought that football was getting a wee bit boring and it was time to bring back a little bit of excitement. It's
not the same as it used to be, all the olden days. Remember when Brian Clough punched a fan?
Fading the pitch. Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't get that nowadays. You just couldn't. You'd be up on an assault charge. Like, I think he did have to apologise, but that was it. No more done after that. But, I mean, I know obviously that's an extreme because Clough was one hell of a character, but you don't get that nowadays in football. It's all fucking shite. So
I mean, what's his name? Danny Rose. I think he was the fucking first one up the tunnel when the the fucking Danny Rose shaped puff of smoke as he fucking disappears into the dressing room safety. I think somebody, because there's been a wee bit of trouble in Glasgow city centre over the last year or two, particularly on Old Firm days, and there would be. I remember there would be trouble, but you would kind of hear about it. But you would when I lived in Glasgow, you would hear about it, but you wouldn't see it because it wouldn't sort of happen in the city centre. It would happen sort of out in maybe maybe around Parkhead or Govan or whatever. It was very rare that. I mean, I never ever saw any trouble in Glasgow city centre when the Old Firm were playing. But I saw a video of I think I sent it on our friend group with our mutual friend last year of all these guys in black charging down, but maybe know if it's Buchanan Street or Sucky Hall Street or something, but someone's filming it from inside a shop.
Yes.
As they're all running past. And did you see there was a kid who appears to be kind of running on his hands and feet?
Yes,
like,
I remember that. Yeah.
Do you remember? Like a crab. No, it's so fucking weird. It's so... I mean, I thought to myself, that must be... It can't be real. Surely someone's AI'd that in there. Because he's like... I was trying to think, what's he like? He's like... I don't know, like maybe something out of a real horror film or something like that, but I couldn't think of what it was.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's the spider walk from The Exorcist, but I know what you mean. The way he was running on his hands and feet, it's like Planet of the Apes or something. Like,
yeah, exactly. That's what he's like. Yeah, he is. It's like he's sort of running like a sort of rampaging chimpanzee. So weird. It's so weird, but it's funny because I like quite a lot of I like a fair bit of the clothes that the old football hooligans used to wear, like those old labels and stuff. And I've got a few bits and pieces. I've got a few Sergio Tahiri t-shirts and a few of the bits and bobs and things. And like I follow a few accounts, like that shop in Glasgow. I follow their Facebook account, that 80s, the one I went into with you, remember, 80s casual classics when we were there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and there's all these like sort of 60-year-old guys and they're, getting a photograph in their Luis jeans and their Fila polos and their Serge zippers and stuff and their Adidas. You know what I mean? You're like, come on, mate. You know what I mean? Like, when my granddad was that age, he wore slacks, a shirt and a sensible jacket. You know what I mean? And yeah, and a pair of sturdy shoes. He wasn't. But that's probably what he wore his whole life, to be fair. So
what you're saying to me here is that's your future? That's what you're going to be? I don't understand. Are you criticising them? You're not going to do that? Or
well, it's more just, it's that sort of holding on to, it's like when you see these old mods, like these old guys who were mods in the 60s and they show up at these sort of mods rallies and stuff, and they're and they've obviously put on a fair bit of weight, but they're squeezed in. They're squeezed into a sort of tonic, double-breasted suit with a parka over the top of it and a pair of desert boots and things. You're like At the moment, I mean, I think I can get away with it. I can get away with it for the time being. But at some point, I'm not going to be able to get away with it anymore. And I'm just going to have to just be a little bit more. I don't know. I don't like to. I'm like Jimmy from Quadrophenia. I don't want to dress like everybody else.
You're going to have to start shopping at Marks and Spencer's, mate. That's
I know.
That's what I can see in your future. Yeah,
I'll be able like chinos and espadrilles.
Nice pair of slacks, yeah. That'll sort you out. Yeah, never mind. Oh well, that's the future for you. It's all okay. We'll be there together. I'll hold your hand.
Yeah, you'll be there in your Vans and your Carhartt.
I've still got a couple of years on you, mate, so I'll be all right. Yeah. No, I will be dressing sensibly. Don't worry. I'm sure I'll be.
Mickey will be there in a pair of those Skechers that you just slide your foot into. You don't have to, like their USP is, you don't have to pull them on. I've seen them advertised. Your foot just glides into.
I don't think I'm ready for Skechers yet, but I'll maybe you could see that in my future. Maybe I don't know. Nice pair of comfortable shoes. I think there's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm. I did buy a pair of mules from Clark's the other week, and they're so comfortable.
Okay.
Yeah, really, really comfortable. I think I've had a pair of Clark's shoes on my feet since I was about 12 years old, and they are incredibly comfortable.
Do they have a compass on the sole?
Unfortunately not. Clark's Wayfarers.
It's all I think of when I mention Clark's nowadays.
Yeah. The tread is little animal prints. You know what I mean? Get a free sticker with them.
Oh, never mind. Okay. Have you seen anything else this week, buddy?
No, that's it.
Right. Well, before we go on to what we're going to be talking about today, let's have a little word from our sponsor.
It's sale time at Morton and Frost with bargains in furniture, beds and beautiful fabrics. Savings on hundreds of suites, carpets fitted free and reductions on rugs. Everything to make a house a home at much less cost. Jamaica Street, Glasgow, McDonald Road, Edinburgh.
More style and less cost at Morton and Frost.
And it's on now.
So, in the last episode, I chose a 6-part TV programme where all the parts were quite long. This time it's your turn to choose. You've gone for something a bit shorter, thankfully. What are we talking about this week?
Thanks, Greg. Yeah, shortness was... Because I realised, like, we've done like 4 6-part things so far this year already. And I was like, oh my God, we need a break. Something a bit shorter. But don't worry, listeners, we will have more 6 parts coming soon. But maybe... yeah, we'll wait a while. So today we are doing a play for today from 1981, and it is called The Good Time Girls. It tells the story of 2 women, Ella and Nancy, whose husbands work away on the rigs and in construction. Bored and frustrated, they go out dancing when left alone and have some fun with some of the men they meet. The rules are simple. Have some fun, make sure nobody finds out, and don't get emotionally involved. Starring Phyllis Logan and Kristen, Alexander Morton, Benny Young, and Derek Anders. Greg, I know it wasn't your first time with a Good Time Girl, but was this your first time watching the Good Time Girls?
I mean, I'm struggling to remember the last time I had the Good Time Girls. Fucking, I really don't. I mean, I don't think I was emotionally secure enough to just enjoy a Good Time Girl back when I could enjoy one. But yeah, no, I had never ever, I don't know, I'd never heard of this, and it did occur to me because, you know, we've done all the Peter McDougall plays for today, but then it did occur to me when I was watching this, there'll be tons of BBC Scotland plays for today, you know, I'm sure of it. And, you know, I think that this one is, I find it interesting because it's, as much as it's about Nancy and Ella and their story, it's quite an interesting sort of little social document of sort of lower, sort of upper working, lower middle class life in Scotland in the sort of late 70s and early 80s. It was, I really enjoyed it.
Good. I'm glad. Yeah, I've mentioned before, I need to send you the link. There is a link that has every play for today on it. So I will, when I'm editing this episode, I will remember, Nikki, send Greg that link now, please. I think I found this purely through going through, not that link, but going through like Play for Today's, or probably it was Scottish Cast. I've got a funny feeling it might have been Derek Anders, actually. Probably when we were doing the silly season. And looking at what other Play for Today's he'd been in, what other Scottish Play for Today's, and then I stumbled upon this one, The Good Time Girls. Looked on YouTube, found it, and thought, okay, I'll save that for later. And I'd watched it a few weeks ago because I thought, let's watch it first and see if it's any good. And I really enjoyed it, which is why I wanted to bring it to you and to our listeners as well, in case anyone hasn't seen it. Completely agree with you. I think it is a very good, it is about Nancy and Ella, but it is about the social construct of that time. Guys working away on the rigs. Being from Aberdeen, I know, I can identify, I know a Nancy and Alec, but ironically, they were called Nancy and Alan in my life, which is bizarre. But I know a couple that were like that he worked away on the rigs, came home, and he just got pissed the 2 weeks he was home. And so it's very realistic in terms of its depiction. And it is a kind of, it's what you want from a play for today as well. It's a fucking gritty dose of realism. Like, you can imagine the boys on the rig, like after a hard day, sitting down in the TV room and watching TV, and this coming on and being like, fucking hell, is this what our wives are up to when we're out here slaving away? Like, it must have been a fucking interesting time when this aired, like the boys on the rigs, or if they're at home on their 2 weeks off and, you know, sitting down with our wives to watch TV. I mean, they're probably in the pub, but absolutely mental that this was on in 81. But yeah, it really is a good depiction of that time.
It's sort of interesting because, you know, the discovery of oil and gas in the North Sea was huge for Scotland. For the whole of Scotland, I think that sometimes gets overlooked because people tend to think of, well, Aberdeen and the overwhelmingly positive impact that it had on the city of Aberdeen. But really, it was a boon for the whole of Scotland and for a lot of England. And, you know, these guys could go away and make really good money, you know, kind of 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. And I guess what this is kind of saying is that, well, you know, it's not necessarily all overwhelmingly positive because the trade-off to the husband going away and for 2 weeks and making all this money is that the family's left back at home on their own, and, like as much as it's called the good time, girls, for a lot of this, Nancy and Ella aren't really having a very good time because there's a lot of scenes when, especially of Nancy, she's at home, she's doing a bit of housework again, or she's just sitting watching the TV, or, having a ciggy, looking out the window, whatever, and then Ella, we find out there's a bit more to her as well, because not only does her husband work away on longer rotations than Alec, but she's also got a son in the army who's about to go off to Belfast as well. So it does kind of show the kind of other side of the coin that, I don't think it's necessarily bursting the bubble because it was too big a bubble to burst, I think, The reason that my family moved to Aberdeenshire was for the oil industry, because my stepfather got a job with the health and safety executive in the offshore division. And that's why we moved up to Aberdeen. When I was at school in Aberdeenshire, when I was a teenager, I'm sure it'd be exactly the same for you at Hazelhead. Like, loads of boys were looking forward to leaving school so they could go and work offshore.
Yeah.
Because they could go out just as like labourers and still make really good money, And the guys who were skilled, the guys who went to uni and college, became engineers and things, went off to the rigs, could make even more money, and they could go all over the world with it as well. So yeah, it's interesting. I just think it's interesting that this is a good thing about the kind of play for today. I mean, it does kind of hold a bit of a mirror up to these things and say, well, look, there's a price to pay here,
Yeah, I mean, I obviously say this aired in 81. It was the year I was born. So I know from when I was at school, there was a few kids in my class that their dad worked on the rigs. And, this was it in terms of that's what they did. And the one I'm speaking about, Nancy and Alan, that was my mum's friend. And it was very much like that. He went away 2 weeks, then he'd be home. And every 2 weeks he was back, they would just get pissed, like, for the 2 weeks. But also, because they had the good money and they were in a 3-bedroom house, they only had one son. It was, the house was big enough for them. They didn't need anything else. So what they spent the money on was like doing up the house. So every time I went round, there was another room being redecorated. Right. Like, genuine, like once a year, she would get a new bathroom suite, or a new kitchen, and there was always stuff. And I used to like going round, like Nancy used to sometimes babysit me, and she wasn't a good time girl. She liked a drink, right? Yeah. So I remember that was the first time like I saw like RoboCop and Total Recall and stuff, was like round, because you go to the video shop. What do you want? Yeah. This one. Okay. And sitting watching Arnie's eyes bulge out his fucking sockets in Mars when I'm like 12 years old. Like, this is fucking great. It was definitely that life. And yeah, I went to, school with kids whose things, and you do. Like I went to uni with a girl who her dad died in Piper Alpha. It's very much the Aberdeen thing of being out on the rigs, and it's a way of life. But you kind of forget about the wives that are left at home when they go out.
My uncle Alec, funnily enough, from Glasgow, like my mum's sister's husband, he was a draftsman. And he did 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, and they lived in Bishopbriggs, and there's 5 of them. There's my 2 cousins, Derek and Stuart, and then they've got 3 sisters. So that's a big family. But he was making really good money, and like I remember because I'm quite close in age to Derek and Stuart. And so we spent a lot of time together when we were young, and they would always, whatever was out that Christmas, they had it. You know what I mean? I remember when like He-Man was big, and for Christmas they got Castle Grayskull and Snake Mountain and like a load of the figures and toys and stuff, and then Transformers, and even before that was Star Wars and everything. And always being a wee bit sort of jealous because like my dad didn't make the kind of money that Alec made. Like no one near it. But then they moved up to Aberdeen for a while and lived in Cove, because I think Alec just got fed up with having to commute. And but my Auntie Isa didn't like it, and they moved back to Bishopbriggs after maybe a year or 2. Because the very first time I ever visited Aberdeen was to come and visit my cousins when they were living in Cove. It would have been the late 80s, and we went to Rambo Land, and I remember my cousin Stuart. My cousin Stuart used to tell me how fucking brilliant Rambo Land was, and I remember not really not quite believing him that it was maybe real. And then going to Cadona's like that night when we were there, and go to Rambleland and just thinking, this is the fucking best place.
Yes.
This is the best place I've ever been in my life.
Yeah.
I want to live in Rambleland.
Yeah, Rambleland was amazing. Fucking loved it. So good. Oh,
But when I would go up and down on the train, though, like when I was living in Aberdeen and I go down to Glasgow, and then when I moved back to Glasgow and I was going up to Aberdeen regularly to come and visit you guys, there would always be, because I would always try and get a bit of an earlier train, you know, just to kind of make the most of the time. And there would always be guys who had obviously bought a carry out the night before to drink on the train in the morning. On the way back to Glasgow, for example, I remember seeing a guy, it was a good way to get the whole kind of table seat to himself, because he had like 6 cans of export and a half bottle of White and Mackay. And of course, this was before smartphones. I think he had a copy of like a newspaper or something, and he just like, I think he got off the train maybe at Stirling or somewhere like that, and he had smashed a lot by the time he got off the train. That'd be like 11 in the morning or something by the time he was getting dropped off.
yeah. I mean, it's still a thing. Like I was back in Aberdeen nearly 7 years ago. And it was for my mum's service, like after she passed away. And I'd been back, I had a couple of days to myself before I was joined by my ex-partner. And Aberdeen were playing the night before, and I'd been out and I was pissed at the football. And then I woke up in the hotel. And I woke up early, as I always do, and I was like, fucking hell, like feeling like shit. And I was like, went out for a walk, and I was like, fuck, I really want a pint. And it was like 10 o'clock in the morning. So I went down to a pub down by the harbour and got a pint. And I was joined, these 2 guys came in and sat with me. And they were fine lads.
Yeah.
They'd just come off. They'd just got the chopper to Dice, got the train in town, and there was the first pub they'd come into, and they were getting on it, and they were going back down to Glasgow, and they were fucking getting on it. They had managed, in the space of getting off the chopper, getting the train to the pub, they'd managed to procure Coke, and they were off in the toilets, and they kept offering me, and I was very sensible, and I was like, no thank you, I'm okay today, thanks though. I had a couple of pints, sorted me out, and I left. But yeah, it's still obviously prevalent that's the fucking, still the done thing that they're doing. They're literally just off the fucking rig and they're getting on it before they go down. And they were like, we're looking at the clock because they're like, oh yeah, train down to Glasgow like in an hour. So just get as much as they can before they go. Like, fucking hell, boys. That's fucking mental.
It's definitely a lifestyle. And that Alec is portrayed that way a bit. I mean, he's a bit fancier, Alec, because he's like flying from Aberdeen to Glasgow. We're supposed to believe, which that doesn't seem very. I don't know why they built that in. It's just easy to put him on the train, but
yeah, I did find that a bit odd.
I don't think you can fly from Aberdeen to Glasgow. Maybe you used to be able to back then. Maybe you could back then. Maybe
I think possibly you used to be able
Logan
to.
Air.
Yeah.
Phyllis's
Phyllis
airline.
Yeah.
So maybe you could, but yeah, I mean that's what Alec's doing, right? You know, he's because towards the end when he tried to ring her and she wasn't in, and then he rings her to say that they were still in the rig because of bad weather, and I thought, oh, he's gonna try and catch her out.
Exactly what I thought.
He just wanted a bonus night on the Lash in Aberdeen, I guess, right?
With some go-go dancers. Or
some go-go dancers.
I don't know what the fuck that place was all about. But then I guess that is a poignant scene because then you see the girls looking over at him, kind of fucking staring him out. And he's looking at them and it's like, oh, I wonder if their husbands are away on the rigs and they're thing. So it's coming full circle. Yeah, don't know. But yeah, it did seem that to me as well. I thought exactly the same. He's going to come and catch her out and she'll be rumbled. But no, he's just wanting a night on the bevy himself to enjoy the go-go dancers of Aberdeen.
Yeah.
How do you think, do you think like Nancy and Ella's like this escalated over time? So it started out that they would probably meet at the baker or the grocery van and obviously they probably knew each other living across the road. Husbands both away. So it started like genuinely with nights at the bingo. And then maybe out for a drink afterwards, and then maybe, then we'll go to some bars. Or that, you know what, let's go dancing tonight. And then before you know it, you're getting rattled in a close.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And Ella's like, I mean, I know that Kristen, who plays Ella, is older than Phyllis Logan, because I've had a look at her IMDb, and sadly she's no longer with us. Yeah. I think the last thing that we had her on was The Advocates, I think, maybe.
Yes.
So The Advocates, yeah. But there's a scene where she's like, I'm going to be 40 next year. And I'm like, fuck off. I'm going to be 40 next year. Come on. So if she's supposed to be in her late 30s, how old is Nancy meant to be?
I guess they're meant to be a little bit younger, Nancy and Alec, but no, I don't think too much younger. I don't know. It's never mentioned their age, but they don't have kids. So I guess you're meant to believe maybe they're early 30s, or I don't know. Yeah. Never kind of defined in that. But yeah, it's an interesting dynamic, the two of them, because it almost seems like Ella's used to this. She's been doing out, because when they first meet Frank and Tony, and they go back, and she sleeps with John McGlynn, Frank. And she's like dead behind the eyes when he's like, how was it? And she goes, what do you want? Marks you a 10. And she's just dead behind the eyes. It's like she's just done this all the time. But Nancy seems a little bit more naive, and she's, it's not like, but also there is a little bit of a coldness to her. She doesn't tell Tony that she's married until after they've slept with each other. And he's a bit surprised and shocked and taken aback at this. Yeah,
because he tells her that he used to be married, right? And so we get a very brief biography about how he thumped his ex-father-in-law at a reconciliation meeting, and he's got 2 kids, and he's studying to be a student again and all that. But he's, obviously it becomes apparent that he's a bit of a good time guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's not as invested as Nancy is, but the more you see the dynamic between Nancy and Alec, the more it kind of makes her growing infatuation with Tony kind of make sense, because like Alec hardly even takes her on. You know what I mean? Like they hardly really talk to each other. I think the longest scene where they actually have a conversation is when they're at the party for Ella and Huey's son, and they go out for a smoke, and she says, would you not consider stopping working on the rigs? And and he's like, no, I don't want to. I don't want to just manage. He's obviously grown accustomed to the lifestyle that he's kind of made for himself through his job, and that's the kind of longest scene we have with them talking to each other. All the other scenes are all a bit awkward, and he lets her down all the time. Lets her down at the community dance because he's absolutely hammered, and he lets her down taking her the pictures, and so like it kind of makes sense how Nancy rather falls hard for somebody who's comparatively nicer to her. But even then, it's not. Even then, it's like Tony's not that warm a guy really in the scenes. She seems a little bit oblivious to his demeanour.
Why don't you pack it?
Oh, I know.
Why not?
I don't want to. Right? Listen, when I'm out there, I think about you a lot. And everybody's the same. Everybody's just waiting to hear from somebody. And what happens when I get back? We argue. I don't understand that.
I think it's purely because he's just given her the attention that she craves and that she's starved with from Alec. And it's exactly as you say, Alec's coming home, and you'd think it's been away for 2 weeks, and she just wants some affection and attention. But Alec's just like pushing her away. He just wants to get pissed all the time. He's off down the pub. Like, she's just as isolated when he's there than as she is when he's not there. And he's just in the pub or sleeping off hangovers, promises a night out, ending disaster. So I can see she is getting some attention from Tony. But I think Tony's quite clear in the beginning when he says he was married. It's like, been there, done that. I'm enjoying my freedom, and I'm kind of, can do what I want. And yeah, great. They're having a good time, and Tony seems keen, and he's saying all the right things because he does say to her, you know, you're not going to disappear, are you? And she's quite like, well, no, we can't. Like this isn't what I do. I think that's the last roll of the dice when she speaks to Alec when they're outside smoking, and he makes it clear he's not giving up.
Yeah.
Then she's like, okay. And then when she tells Tony she loves him, that's when you see Tony like, oh, fuck. This is too much now. And you can see the kind of dread. It's getting too real. And you can see the realization he's not pleased. He says it back, but he doesn't really mean it. And yeah, then that's basically the next time we see him. He's with the young girl that we saw him with at the party that he's obviously been rattling on the side.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do. It's difficult. I feel really sorry for Nancy. I know it's difficult to say that she's having an affair, but she's in a hell of a predicament.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and she's kind of got herself. She kind of paints herself into a corner, really. You know, and when she's having the conversation with Tony about what if I just stayed here, and you know, and telling him that she loves him and everything, you still don't really think that she'll leave Alec. You know what I mean? Because she's sort of a bit of a, she's sort of a bit of a prisoner of convention, and Ella kind of hammers that home. You know what I mean? Like, you know, there's this with the scene when they fall out. She's like, it's fine to do all this, as long as someone finds out about it, then no one's going to get their feelings hurt or anything. And then so when she does actually, you know, it's quite sudden, you know, when she's just sort of sitting watching the telly, and he's out again, and she's like, she goes and packs a case and goes. Yeah. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, she's going to, you know what I mean? I never thought she would, and I thought that might be the end of it. I thought that, you know, because sometimes these plays for today end on a bit of an ambiguous, and this ends up ending with a degree of ambiguity anyway. But I thought, oh, maybe this is going to be the end of it. It was just her just leaving. So it's almost like a bit of a hopeful ending for Nancy, because she's leaving to try and find her happiness elsewhere. But she doesn't, because she finds out that Tony's actually a bit of a shite, and she feels a bit silly and a bit, you know, that she has that bit of a come to Jesus moment, doesn't she, where she's out all night and she's just parking her car and looking out across the water, and she just ends up right back where she started. You know, and we don't know if Alec is going to come back or not. Hughie says he's not coming back, but who knows? Yeah. But
is Tony a shite at the end of the day? She's married. He's okay. He is a shite because he's sleeping with a married woman and he knows she's married. But then what is he meant to do? Wait around for her? Is he not meant to have a bit of fun as well? That's what she's doing. He doesn't know that she's not sleeping with Alec. So who's in the wrong? I mean, they're both in the wrong, obviously, but is he that much of a dick doing that? I don't know.
I mean, I suppose like he knows how she feels about him because she's told him, you know, and you know there's an opportunity there for him to have been honest and let her down maybe as gently as he could, but you know he doesn't. So I mean, I think that kind of goes in his favour. So I don't know. The younger me might have been Team Tony, but maybe I'm getting too sentimental in my old age.
Okay, fair enough. I can see that. Okay. So in terms of it's a packed-ish cast. In terms of, I think you would say, like Phyllis Logan, who has popped up a few times on the Culture Swally, the lovely Phyllis Logan.
She's lovely in this.
She is. She's very lovely. She's almost as lovely as she is in Lovejoy, which I was devastated to find out. It's happening, Greg. I remember when Bergerac was being remade and you sent me a shitty message and I said, what's the big deal? And you said, well, how would you feel if they were remaking Lovejoy? They're fucking remaking Lovejoy, Greg.
Yeah, well, you know, this is by the writer of Lovejoy, Alan Clues, who also wrote Lovejoy. And I wonder if Phyllis Logan is Clues' muse, because obviously she's also in Lovejoy as well. The adventures of a crime-solving antique dealer.
Yes, it's the remake is going to be by the production company that makes Slow Horses, which I still haven't seen. So I'm hoping that they will do justice to Lovejoy, because Lovejoy is a series that is very close to my heart. But yeah, Phyllis Logan, you know, she's wonderful in this, and it's a great, you know, role for her. I think it sits very well as obviously kind of the glamorous wife of a guy who works in the rigs, and she's obviously, she's obviously bored housewife. So she gets out to go and do her thing.
She's not. She'd be quite young, I think, right? I mean, let's see, how old is Phyllis Logan?
She was born in
the 40s,
1956. She was born, so she'd have been 35 in this.
Well, she wouldn't.
No, she wouldn't have been. She'd been 25.
Yeah, so she's young.
Sorry, 25. Jesus.
She's. The thing is, like, there is that big age gap between her and Anne and Kristen, but I think because they're such good players, it doesn't feel like that. The only time where it sort of almost does is when they're in Tiffany's, and it's like they're dancing to two separate songs. Like Ella's having a bit of a slowy with a guy, and Nancy's having a bit more of a bop. And that you kind of think, it's a bit like Phyllis is out with her mum. But then kind of later on, the dynamic sort of gets a lot stronger. I was compelled to look Tiffany's up. And it was a real place. Yeah, it was on Sucky Hill Street in Glasgow. A few doors from where the garage is now in the Gentings Casino. It used to be the Locarno dance hall before it was Tiffany's. It closed down in 1984. So there you go. The thing is, I know that I made, right? So there's a few scenes of nights out in this. There's one at Tiffany's. There's one where they're at a disco. And something kind of struck me a little bit, right? Because all the guys that are out, apart from the gay guy who throws his handbag in to dance with Ella and Nancy, all the guys that are out in their suits, right? Yeah. And I think guys would go for a night out. If they're going out in town, they go out in their suit. And when Alec is coming back from the rigs, he's got a suit on with a raincoat over it and stuff. And I'm old enough to remember when some guys would still when I worked in like a pub, some guys would come to the pub on a Saturday night in a suit. Older guys. But it can't have been very long between sort of this time and what people wore going out to just the fashion changing quite dramatically in the city centre, because like a couple of years later you'd have had kind of New Romantics and you'd have had this sort of mod revival and all that kind of thing. And there would have been a much more varied sort of wardrobe on the guys. Whereas, with the girls, I suppose, because like all the women are dressed, they're dressed quite modestly, really, like Ella and Nancy when they go out, they're not showing a lot of cleavage, they're not showing a lot of leg or a lot of shoulder. It's all quite conservative, really, But like, despite that, when you see them at the disco, all the guys dancing in their suits, and they're properly going for it. And I'm just thinking, you'd be fucking roasting in there. You know what I mean? That suit would be in the dry cleaners on Monday morning.
And you'd be stinking of fags and stale booze as well. I was struck by that. It did take me back. Not take me back, but it just seeing that kind of the nightclub environment with all the Pink Panther stuff as well. It was like, fucking hell. Remember, Pink Panther was massive back in the day. And having like a Pink Panther themed disco. DJ giving it laldy. But all the men are dressed in their suits. And I guess that was what you wore. I guess latterly for us, it became into the Ben Sherman shirts and jeans and kickers shoes or whatnot. But it was almost like the uniform that he wore. And it's true. There were still men that did that. I know from working at the Athol, there was a guy, Fred, used to come in most nights and we were wearing this like tatty old fucking fisherman jumper that had holes in it and paint stains. He used to wear that most days when he came in for his couple of pints of cider. He'd be there every Saturday night with his wife wearing his suit, and she would be all glammed up, and they'd have dinner and then come through to the bar and kind of were to pretend you didn't really know Fred that well because he didn't come in every night, and he'd give you a tenner tip. That was your tip for the week for keeping your mouth shut. And it was like, it's all good. It was a thing that you would go out and wear your suit. So, but I agree with you. It does seem a bit odd to see these men, dancing in their suits.
It's funny because my grandfather, toward the end of his life, he was a big Rangers fan and he had a season ticket for a couple of years for the Govan Road End which is the end closest to the visitors' end at Ibrox. And I remember I went a couple of times with his ticket when he didn't go. He gave it to me. I watched like a European game one night. I went to the first game of the season, and the only reason I went was because it was Flag Day, and he wanted me to. So everybody that went got a flag or something. I can't remember. And he wanted me to pick it up for him, basically, but he wasn't well enough to go. But there was the guy next to him was an older guy, and in all the games that I was at, apart from one that he was at, he would just be dressed in like the sort of thing guys wear to the football, maybe like a club top, pair of jeans, jacket, whatever, scarf. Mm-hmm. The only time I went to the Old Firm game with that ticket, and my granddad wouldn't go to the Old Firm games because he was always old and he was worried that, anything happened or whatever.
Yeah.
This guy was dressed to the nines. He had a suit on, he had, like little pins in his lapel and everything. He was dressed really smart, but he spent like most of the game just shouting abuse at this Celtic fan. Because when Celtic came to Ibrox, they would get that whole end of the stadium, whereas when other clubs came, they would get maybe like a half of that or a third of it or whatever. But they would get the whole end, and he just spent the whole time screaming abuse. And Rangers lost. It was the year that Celtic had their European run, 2003, when they got to the final of what was the European Cup, remember, in Seville. So they knew they were going at that point. So they were like beach balls.
Oh yeah,
all that kind of thing. And this guy in his finest clothes spent 2 hours just shouting abuse at the Celtic fans, like sectarian expressions I'd never heard before or since, and I thought I knew them all until I met that guy. But yeah, it's funny. It's just I find it quite interesting. Like, there's a guy that I used to know in Glasgow. He's passed away now, called Eddie Tobin. I think I've mentioned him on the podcast before. And he was, he was heavily involved in the hospitality scene. He owned Big Beat, the sort of promotions company, and he had like security company and stuff. He was sitting in Glasgow licensing board. The reason I met him was because we used the clearing company for the restaurants in Glasgow. Really, really nice guy. He gave my wife a job, part-time job in his office when we really needed her to bring in a bit of extra money. Sadly, no longer with us. But he wrote a book called Are You Dancing? Okay. And it's all about the kind of history of Glasgow nightlife, and I've never been able to fight. The one time I saw it, and for whatever reason I didn't buy it, and I really kicked myself. I've never seen it since. So and I felt I didn't like to ask him for a free copy because it's it's a bit shit, isn't it? But yeah, I need to try and keep an eye out for it. I'll probably get it off eBay when I'm back at home. But I really want to read this. Watching this really made me think of it, and I thought we need to get hold of Eddie's book. And he used to manage the sensational Alex Harvey band, and apparently he managed Billy Connolly at one point early in his career, like really early in his career as well. He used to manage the Apollo in Glasgow too, the famous old music venue where it's now the big cinema on Menfield Street. But yeah, interesting guy. You could sit and talk to him for hours and hours, and he was, a really engaging and friendly guy as well. Very, very unassuming. Nice guy. Sadly missed.
Oh. But yeah, the shots of the club also give us the dancing around the handbags thing. I mean, that doesn't... I wonder, does it happen nowadays? I don't think so, but it did. It still happened a little bit in our time.
Yeah, I've definitely seen it. Yeah, when you and I have been out, I've seen that when you and I have been out. You know what I mean? For sure. Because like the ladies wouldn't want to leave their handbags in the seats because probably get rifled at best and stolen at worst, right? But yeah, it's again, like it's like I said at the beginning, it's like a really interesting sort of social document of even things like, it's really weird to see a close without a security door. And when I was a kid, closes didn't have a security door. You just walk in and go up and chap the door of the flat that you were visiting. Yeah. It was sort of 90s that they started putting security doors in all the tenements that they didn't knock down, Because when I lived in that flat in Queen's Park, it was a security door, right? But it's, just little bits like that. It's just it's a little sort of snapshot of a Glasgow that doesn't exist anymore.
What I mean, to speak about Anne Kristen as Ella, you've kind of touched upon, you know, she's a bit older, she seems a little bit wiser. I've said she's kind of dead behind the eyes, you know, in that way after she sleeps with Frank. But she is very much, she's the one that says when they go to the party and they're leaving, we're not coming back. We're not coming back. And she said, she says, do you know what he asked me to do? And then whispers something to Nancy. I didn't know people did things like that.
That's definitely the last we see of them. Definitely. What's the matter? Do you know what he asked me to do? Well, I mean, I didn't know people did things like that. I don't know why people would want to do things like that. I mean, that's definitely the last time. Definitely.
What did he ask her to do, do you think, Greg? Do you think it was
Off the arse, obviously.
Yeah, that backdoor action, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. And he looks really sheepish when they leave, John McGlynn, doesn't he? But yeah, I thought to myself, it has to be anal sex, surely.
Yeah.
Or, you know, unless, you know, she's a bit of a missionary lady and he suggested oral sex, you know. I've no idea, but it did. I mean, that was my first thought as well. Of course, that what she'd be horrified at. But yeah, I don't know if guys were getting blowies in Glasgow in the early 1980s just as a matter of routine. I don't know how common they were back then.
I don't know. I'm not sure. Not sure at all.
Thankfully, a bit more common by the time I was out and about. Not always common enough, but you know, but common enough.
But yes, Anne Kristen, as you mentioned, like no longer with us, but she, you know, a stellar kind of Scottish career as well. She popped up in so many things. You say we had her obviously on The Advocates, but you know, when you look through her IMDb, just a literal smorgasbord of Scottish stuff, you know, from Rabsy Nesbitt to City Lights and, you know, Parahandy, Taggart, Dr. Finlay, Hamish Macbeth, all the big hits. But she's great as Ella, and it is kind of you get the impression she's the one that has led Nancy into this. And but then she's the one that's very much like, hey, what are you doing? No, you don't do this. And her relationship with Hughie is very different from the relationship that Nancy and Alec have. She's delighted to see Hughie when he's home, and he's delighted to see her. And she does this almost out of jealousy or curiosity, wondering what he gets up to. Because it's never, he works in construction and he's away for like 7 weeks at a time. I don't think they mention where it is he's away to, though.
He's in Germany, do you think?
Well, that's what I wondered. Yeah, of course. That was my exact thought. Yeah, of course he's in Germany.
Yeah,
so I wondered,
Pat Roach and Jimmy Nail.
So I thought that, she's delighted to see him. He's delighted to see her. They obviously have fun when they're together. She's doing this because she wonders what he's up to. But it's never actually confirmed if Hughie is playing away. But the rules are very kind of set in stone for her. So when Nancy is going to see Tony on her own, then that's, you know, Ella kind of loses it.
Look, when we first started going out with each other, it was only just for fun. We were bored. So we started going out one night a week when we could do anything we wanted. Now that was great. I'm going to be 40 next year, and yet that made me feel like I was 16 again. But it was only just for fun. It never meant anything.
I never thought that.
Aye, sure, maybe we did things we shouldn't have done, but we were careful. Hugh and Alec never knew. They'd never even have guessed. No one got hurt, so it wasn't important. But this is different. It's trouble.
And then when Nancy comes to Ella to say she's leaving, Ella's a fucking grass and goes and phones the pub to speak to Alec to tell him. Now, probably that is the right thing to do because she's thinking Nancy's lost her head. She needs Alec to come and speak to her. And fair play, Alec then runs off to go home. I genuinely thought she was going to hit him with a car as well.
Yeah, I did.
I did think it would be accidental, like he's going to run out and bang. But yeah, at least he runs to go and get her. But yeah, Ella is a bit of a grass, and that's kind of it shows the dynamic of them when Hughie and Alec are speaking, and Hughie's like, why are Ella and Nancy not speaking? I don't know. It's kind of that's women's business.
Some stupid women's argument. It's like...
Be about the washing or something. I don't know. Nothing for us to be concerned about. Let's go to the pub. But yeah, very great performance. But yeah, very interesting dynamic that the couples have.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like, by phoning the pub, Ella she really believed, I'm helping my friend by doing this, because she's obviously, she's sort of lost her mind a little bit here, and we need to kind of get things back to normal, because she for all her good time girl attitude and stuff, she's actually quite conventional, and we find out she spends a lot more time on her own than Nancy does, because Hughie works longer rotations. So it's like, and the thing is, at the beginning, she's the one that's is the kind of instigator of it all. Wait, where are we going on Friday? Let's go somewhere different, and you feel like she's sort of in control of her and Ella's social life to like a great extent, until Ella takes up with Tony, and they go to the house party is the sort of watershed, isn't it? It's a sort of watershed of Nancy's growing infatuation and Ella's kind of, right, and enough of these two guys. Let's do something different, because she's trying to get into McGlynn's Levi's in the Close, isn't she, at one point? Yeah.
Until he suggests a bit of backdoor in the Close, and then she's not keen anymore.
She draws a line at that.
But yeah, she's very much keen to just like, come on, let's go out. Let's go out on Friday. We'll go dancing. We'll get some more men. But no, Nancy's like, no, I need, it's Tony that I want. A bit of a link from the last episode that we had, Psychos, where we obviously had Alistair Mackenzie in Psychos. Similarly, we have Alexander Morton in this episode, and he was in 64 episodes of Monarch of the Glen.
Yeah, he was a regular, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was in every episode. I think they went through 2 Monarchs. I never watched Monarch of the Glen. I'm threatening to do it at some point, but I don't know if I will.
My old flatmate, Derek, loved Monarch of the Glen, so much so that his daughter's name is Lexi, after Dawn Steele's character Lexi in Monarch of the Glen.
Wow.
Yeah, you're a big fan.
I don't know, it passed me by. I think it was because it was, 2000 to 2005 it aired. I wasn't watching stuff, especially the time slot it was on.
It was on a Sunday night as well. I would either be working, or I'd probably go out on a Sunday night if I wasn't working. I definitely wouldn't be staying in, because Sunday nights were good. Sunday night was a good night out in Glasgow back then.
Yeah, a good night out in Aberdeen too, I think.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
So I was the same. I wouldn't have been sitting in and watching it, and I think it probably by association, the time slot it was in, that was what I associated with like Heartbeat or something like Howard's
Hamish
Way.
Macbeth.
Now, I am going to pick Hamish Macbeth soon at one point. I definitely am, because I do want to watch Hamish Macbeth. Hamish Macbeth was good. But yeah, Monarch of the Glen kind of passed me by a little bit. As Alec, he's the perfect kind of character and actor for this role, because he doesn't say a lot, he doesn't do a lot, but you get the real feeling of the character, that he's just likes a drink, he's got a lovely selection of lager lovelies. Were you eyeing up to see if you had any of those, Greg? Or
yeah, I did. The lager lovely connection did go across our mind a few times, because the styles of the styles for the ladies, and particularly the style, that sort of feather haircut and everything, it's very lager lovely adjacent. So my mind was drawn to the old classic Tennant's cans on more than one occasion watching this.
And it's just that's his Saturday afternoon, obviously. He's just pushed collection of Tennant's cans on the table, watching Grandstand, and just watching any old shite that he's on. Like, he's fucking watching dressage at one point.
Yes, yeah. But then I wonder if they're trying to say, well, again, here's the downside of this 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, because what are you supposed to do with your time? There's nothing on the telly, there's nothing on the TV. And bearing in mind, this would have been the time when the pubs closed at 2 o'clock and opened again at 5 o'clock. So you couldn't even be in the pub all day.
That crossed my mind, because then when he goes to the pub to get the tickets for the dance, but then gets pished, I'm like, was that before 2 or after? Because I thought exactly the same. The pub would have shut. So I wasn't sure, but maybe, I don't know, maybe there was a little afternoon drinking session somewhere that he was able to go to. But yeah, you're right. That does get across that kind of the period of, what do you do with your 2 weeks at home? And it's a shame. You do feel for him in a way, because when they're outside having a smoke, and he says, like, when I'm away, I think about you a lot. And then when we're home, we just argue. But he doesn't put in any effort. But I guess that's his mindset of, I've been away working for 2 weeks. This is my 2 weeks. I just want to relax and get pished and just watch dressage and do nothing. I don't want to sit and discuss what you've been up to. I don't know.
Yeah, because clearly, I know, I guess there's that. There is a bit of that. I mean, it's a kind of old-fashioned husband-wife dynamic. Like, if I think about my grandparents, my dad's mum and dad's, my granda wasn't much of a drinker. He liked the odd whiskey, but she just lived for him, really. Like, he got up in the morning, he'd always get washed and have a shave in the kitchen sink. Never understood it. Don't know why I didn't use the bathroom sink. But he did. That was his routine. Then she would get up and make his breakfast. He'd go off to work. He'd come back in at lunchtime. She'd have his lunch ready. In between, she'd have cleaned the whole house from top to bottom. And then she'd send him back off to his work in the afternoon. She'd maybe watch the news, sit and read our People's Friend or whatever, and then she'd have the dinner ready for him coming in when he came in at 5 o'clock, whatever time he came in, 5:30, whatever. They'd have their dinner, he'd help her wash the dishes and clean the kitchen. They'd watch the news, they'd have their supper at about 9 o'clock, they'd go to bed after the 10 o'clock news. That was what they did every day. Like, at the weekend, he might treat her by taking her for a run in the car. Mum will go for a run in the car. Maybe they go out to Callander or Stirling or somewhere like that. Maybe stop for a cream tea or something. But that was it. That was the dynamic. And I guess this is sort of demonstrating a bit of a shift in the Good Time Girls, right? There's a generation of women now that just because they don't work and they're kept, like Nancy and Ella are kept by their husbands' well-paid jobs, but they don't want to they still want to lead their own lives and, and have more kind of stimulation than just waiting for their husband to be home from the pub or from his work or whatever. It's quite interesting. I think there's a lot going on in this that, when you think about, if you really think about it, I think it's reflecting quite a lot of sort of social change, I think.
Yeah.
For the time,
No, it certainly is. That's so funny. I hadn't even thought about that. A run in the car. Yeah. That was such a thing. Yeah. Of course, but there was nothing. I'm not saying there was nothing else to do, but you know what I mean. It was quite an experience to go for a run in the car. Yeah.
But the funny thing was, like, when my grandfather got older and he wasn't going out to work as much. I mean, he did work until he was in his 80s and he dropped dead pretty much. But he wasn't working as much. So when he wasn't working, he would get under her feet because he'd want to help her with the housework, and he'd want, but that was her thing, what I mean? She was happier when he was just out the house because she had the same routine that she'd had for God knows how many years, 30, 40 years. And so when he's there and she's trying to go on with her routine, it used to get on her nerves. Fucking poor guy couldn't win, but I suppose that was just the way people lived back then,
Yeah, I can just imagine or hear that, get out my road, you're in my, this is my domain, you shouldn't be in here, just getting in my way. Yeah. And then I guess, the last kind of two we have obviously are really, if we're talking about, is Benny Young and John McGlynn as the two romantic heroes, Frank and Tony. They're Catholic. And I know. A couple of little Lotharios just getting involved with some married women. But, are they doing anything wrong? Yes, maybe.
Well, I mean, the thing is, like, they do both seem a wee bit they don't. I mean, it's because everybody's, like we were saying before, everyone's out dressed in their good suits. It's very difficult to kind of age people. But I did feel that they both just seemed a wee bit old to be. Maybe it's just the time and the fashions and everything else, perhaps. I don't know. But he's got a hell of a IMDb. He was in like Chariots of Fire. So it was very young. So all kinds of things. It was even in, when we did the Outlaw King, we had a part in that as well, and Wild Rose. So we've sort of unknowingly had him on the pod before without really paying any attention to him because he wasn't getting Phyllis's Logans out.
He's definitely one of those actors that I think just pops up in a lot of stuff and has maybe a lot of smaller parts, but obviously, this is his chance to shine in getting Phyllis's Logans out. Thanks.
That's the thing that, and maybe I'm just kind of overthinking it, but there's a lot of scenes of them in bed together. There's quite a few scenes, when they're in bed, sort of post-coitus, we're expected to believe. And, they have the duvet up to Phyllis's shoulders or Kirsten's shoulders, and it's all very BBC at the time. And then, but I wonder, why make the choice to just show a bit of Phyllis Logan's breasts? Later on, you know what I mean? I didn't really get it. They just try to say, well, in a natural situation, she might be lying like that, with just a breast sort of casually exposed. I just thought it was a bit of an odd choice because they thought, well, you haven't made it up until now. Why? Because there's no that bit in the bit where Ella tries to undo John McGlynn's Levi's in the close. I mean, they're the only two sort of risque moments, and compared to modern standards, it's as tame can be.
Yeah, and it is funny because it's a surprise when you see, because you have seen a couple of scenes of them in bed together, but just, everything's covered. And then, it does seem an odd choice that all of a sudden, there's Phyllis Logan's boob. But I almost felt like, I don't want to see that. It's lovely Phyllis Logan. No, that's not right. No. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just a bit of a prude or something, but yeah. Anyway.
The other thing I was going to ask you, did you ever at a party in someone's house where people were dancing?
Yeah, I have, but not, it did seem a bit out of place in this episode, but no. Have you?
No, don't think so. But it's like sort of slow dancing as well, like sort of kind of late in the evening, fling on a wee Billy Joel or a wee Slowy.
No, I think I have definitely been to house parties where people have been dancing because it's more of a party rather than just a gathering at people's house type thing. Have you ever been at a party where two people have been getting in a fight about Scotland? And
probably
whether a big burly guy with a beard and a wee geeky guy with glasses and just getting into a bit of a scrap.
You see, that's what I like about these kind of plays for today, because often they'll have these kind of characters in really short scenes, and it just kind of brings it to life a wee bit. I mean, if that scene wasn't in this, wouldn't make any difference to the story. It has no bearing on the story whatsoever. But it just brings a bit of colour and character. And it's like the drunk guy telling the joke about the crocodile on the leash. I mean, it's got to be one of the fucking oldest joke I've ever heard in my life, by the way. Again, they're completely inconsequential scenes, but they do just bring the whole conceit to life a wee bit, add a wee bit of authenticity, because, would a guy in a kilt is maybe taking it a wee bit too far, but the guy telling that joke you could hear that in a pub anywhere in the west of Scotland at any time. It just brings a degree of authenticity to it. Just attention to detail. It
is a weird part. I agree with you in terms of it kind of splits up the scene, and I guess it just to show, this is what else is going on at the party. It's not all about these guys. Look, this is happening as well. But kind of breaks up, maybe makes it a little bit more authentic. But I can see that. Yeah.
The thing is, when you compare it to the party that Ella and Huey have for their son, it's, that party seems to go through the emotional roller coaster a wee bit. you've got the old guy playing the accordion, and he's playing what I take to be a fairly upbeat song, but it's not upbeat enough for Huey. So he has to start playing We're Off to Sunny Spain to get everybody going, you know? And then Ella and Nancy sing a song together, and it's all quite upbeat. But then toward the end, when the old guy's singing the sort of ballad, everyone looks a bit pissed and sad.
Yeah.
And I've definitely been at quite a lot of house parties that have kind of ended up with people kind of sitting about looking a bit pissed and sad, for sure. At like 3 a.m.
Is that the sign of a good party? If everyone's just sitting about pissed and sad, the casualties of the party, they've taken their life into stock, they're thinking about things, wondering where they went wrong.
They sort of run out of energy parties sometimes, don't they? Like the sort of sensible people sort of get themselves off home just before that happens, but the kind of diehard ones sort of kind of they kind of grind through, and then at 4 o'clock it's like, you know, it was just feeling a bit sorry for themselves. The old existential dread starts to creep in as dawn's grey fingers creep across the morning sky.
So the best thing to do is go out, go off, go home.
Go home,
That's the
exactly.
Best thing, yeah.
Yeah.
The best thing. Don't
hang
around.
To be fair, that's what Ella and Nancy do at that house party. They go out, get off, and then go home. Unfortunately for Ella, she just narrowly invades getting her back door kicked in.
Wonderful. Well, I guess they had the right attitude then. But so then it ends, again, as you said earlier, I don't know what. It ends very ambiguously in terms of Alex left, he's not coming back. He's wrecked the house, Nancy's tidying it all up, it's all sorted, but looking wistful, no sign of Alec. So fuck knows where he's gone, back to the Go-Go Club in Aberdeen. And yeah, is he going to come back? What the fuck is happening?
Yeah, I know, this is a thing. I mean, it's all, he's obviously gone home and cracked up and gone, but where's he gone? That's the thing, right? We don't know. Has he got a bit in the side as well that we'd never find out about? And, you know, sort of Nancy's kind of right back where she started, only arguably worse off because her husband, according to Huey, is left and Ella, but that's the other thing, like Huey tells her that Ella's not in when she phones to speak to Ella, when Ella's right there.
But then,
you know what I mean?
What's happening with Huey and Ella though? Because Ella's had to have told him a story. How does she know about this? So what, Nancy's been going out herself and getting rattled.
Yeah,
and you haven't told anything. Oh, well, no, I was with her at one point, you know, when you're off to the bingo.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd love to know what story she's told him in terms of that.
And Huey's deemed Nancy to be a bad influence. And,
So...
and that they're not allowed to play together anymore.
No, it's like when David Brown used to phone for me and my mum, no, he's not in, because she didn't like him. So, thought he was a bad influence. So, that would be it. Exactly the same.
So, is it time to put our Good Time Girls through our Swally Awards?
Let's do it, Greg. Let's go through the Good Time Girls.
First award is the Bobby the Barman Award for the best pub. I mean, for me, it's pretty much every pub that Alec goes to, apart from the one with the go-go dancers.
Yeah, it's exactly the same. The pub him and Huey are in looks great. Looks like a nice little pub. I don't fancy Tiffany's, and I didn't fancy the bar that Nancy and Ella are in before they go to Tiffany's.
No.
Which looked a bit like the Go-Go Club Alex in as well. Like, it did look a bit similar. I'd be the same. Any of Alex pubs look good to me.
Next then is the James Cosmo Award for being in everything Scottish. It's a toughie. Because Phyllis Logan is actually, for all her success, I mean, a lot of her success has been south of the border.
Yeah.
Lovejoy, Downton. I think McGlynn and Kristen are competitors there for that sort of, what's the word? I can't think what it is, but prophetic working Scotland.
Yeah, I mean,
even Sandy Morton.
Well, it was Anne Kristen or Sandy Morton I went with. I think Kristen, obviously, you know, Taggart, Macbeth, Advocates, Rab, City Lights. But yeah, Alexander Morton's been in a lot of stuff. And he pops up in a lot. I know, often, sometimes just in the background, you know, a big menacing guy. But yeah, I went with either of those two, I thought, for the Cosmo Award.
It does a lot of the video game voice work. So he does.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, I noticed
when I
that.
was
Yeah.
looking into his IMDb earlier. Next award then is the Jake McQuillan Your Tease Out Award. I suppose it's wee Specky getting although we don't really see it, it's wee Specky getting a sore face off the guy in the kilt at the party. We just see him afterwards.
Yeah.
You should see the other guy, not a scratch on him. That made me laugh.
It's exactly what I've gone for. The specky guy at the party getting a slap for disrespecting Scotland.
Usually it'd be the Frank Begbie Award for gratuitous language, but because it's the BBC, whereas a wee flash of Phyllis Logan's breast is fine. No bad words, really, but the odd bugger here and there.
Yeah.
Which brings us on to the Ewan McGregor Award for gratuitous nudity. I think we know a little flash of that wee flash of Phyllis's left breast.
And we've said it is gratuitous and unnecessary. So I would agree with that. Yeah.
Archetypal Scottish moment, and there are many to choose from.
Yeah. I went with Lager Lovelace, as I always do, just to get that in. Jokes about Rangers and Celtic, and a proud Scotsman getting into an argument at a party with someone who's disrespecting Scotland. What about yourself?
I would add to that half and a half, which is something we've had on here before.
Yeah.
House party sing-along is definitely something Scottish about that as well. Do they have anything else? Yeah, that joke about the crocodile on the leash. I mean, it's incredible. You know, you've touched on my pen. You touched on it already, but it's very Scottish joke.
Yeah.
Do you serve Catholics? And then lastly, who is the winner of the Good Time Girls for you?
I gave it to Phyllis Logan. Purely, it just feels like it's her play. She's very much really the main character. And I think she delivers a good performance. I felt for Nancy throughout. And as I say, I mentioned earlier, you kind of feel she's doing the wrong thing, but you feel sorry for her. And I really felt sorry for her at the end. When she sees Tony with that other girl and kind of a bit lost, and you're like, fuck, what's she going to do now? So
I think where sort of speaks to her quality is, they obviously she doesn't say anything, she doesn't confront Tony, which it's literally a sort of silent reaction that we see, and she kind of conveys this almost like a kind of back to earth realization. That I've made a fool of myself here. I've been foolish in what I've done, in the way that I've gone after him, this infatuation that I've had and things. Like you sort of see all of that just in that shot of her watching them through her car window. You know? I'd agree. I think she's very, very good in it. So if you want to watch The Good Time Girls, it's on YouTube. It's quite, I couldn't find it, but luckily Nikki sent it to me, but it is there.
It is. It's available on YouTube. That was The Good Time Girls, and that is episode 149, which means our next episode, Greg, will be 150. Very special. And we're going to do something a bit different, aren't we, for the next episode?
We are. So, as well, 2026 is not only the 125th anniversary of Scotland's other national drink, as we were discussing earlier on, it's also 30 years since Trainspotting was released in the cinemas. Danny Boyle's movie of Trainspotting, that is. So, we have obviously covered Trainspotting on a very early episode of the Culture Swally, but we couldn't let both our 150th episode go by without doing something special, and we certainly couldn't let this anniversary for Trainspotting go by unmentioned. So next week, or the next episode rather, we're going to be talking about Trainspotting, but we're going to be talking about the impact that the film had on not just Scottish culture, but in the Scottish film industry, but arguably the British film industry and beyond. And I'm sure we'll be sharing some of our personal memories of that time and some of the things that we enjoyed, that were clearly influenced by the success of Trainspotting. So that will be our next episode, 150 of the Culture Swally.
Just basically an excuse for you and I to reminisce about the good old days, Greg. Watching Trainspotting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Glory
exactly. No, I'm looking forward to it. I thought it's a really good idea, and yeah, it's just nice to have it's always nice to revisit that and speak about that in that time, but the impact it's had. So wonderful. Trainspotting 30 years on the next episode of the Culture Swally. Oh, thank you very much for listening, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the good time, girls. Give us a little rating, review, subscription, wherever you get your podcasts. It really does help. And you can get in touch with us if you'd like. You can follow us on the socials. We're on Insta at Culture Swally Pod, or you can drop us an email, cultureswally@gmail.com, with anything you've seen you'd like us to cover, any news stories, or if you just want to say hello. And Greg, we've got a wonderful website as well, don't we?
We do. You can find us at cultureswally.com with links to all our episodes and articles about Scottish movies and television. And maybe if you have special memories or associations with Trainspotting, if you're a man or woman of a certain age and you were there at the time, maybe if you share some of your own recollections and memories, we'll read them out on the next episode of the pod. Maybe, if they're interesting enough.
If you get in quick, I would say, obviously. Wonderful. Right, fantastic. Well, thank you very much, buddy. I hope you enjoy the rest of your Saturday.
Thank you.
Exciting?
No, I don't think so. I've got to go out and see what the consensus is for dinner. But yeah, no, I think it's a relaxing evening, I think.
Wonderful.
Back to work on Monday. It's been a holiday here because people who are followers of Islam will know that it's been Eid this weekend. So I've had a couple of extra days off work. I've recharge and get ready for... I'm playing tennis in the morning, so I can't go to bed too late tonight.
Excellent. Well, you enjoy, buddy, and I will see you next time.
Until next time.
Scotland's a great wee country, a great wee nation, and don't you forget it. Okay?